Ready to dig into something new? You sent us Anthony Bamford's Wikipedia page. And, well, this deep dive, it's not just about construction equipment.
Nope, not even close. JCB is a big deal, yeah, but Bamford's story. Think way more than just bulldozers. We're talking high-stakes business deals, political maneuvering, even a car collection that'll make your jaw drop.
Oh, we'll get to the cars, promise. But first, let's set the stage. This is a guy born into the JCB empire. His dad started it all.
And we're not talking about inheriting a small shop either. This is JCB.
Exactly. Could have just coasted? Right. But no, Bamford takes over at 30, turns it into a global powerhouse. Not just hitting a home run, more like hitting a grand slam in the World Series.
He was prepped for this kind of success early on, though. Ampleforth College, then University of Grenoble, not your average school route. Makes you wonder, did he always picture himself running JCB, or were there other paths he considered?
Well, one thing's for sure, he doesn't back down from a challenge. We've got to talk about that lawsuit with Jeffrey Archer back in the 70s, the novelist.
Oh, yeah, that's a wild one. Loans, fraud, literary redemption. It's a whole thing. Starts with Bamford loaning Archer. He was a member of parliament at the time, a huge chunk of money, £172,000. Serious cash back then, even more so now.
So Archer goes and loses it all in some shady stock scheme. I'd be livid.
Bamford doesn't mess around. He sued Archer into bankruptcy. Now, Archer eventually paid it all back with his writing earnings, but still, tells you something about Bamford's style, right?
You mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Exactly. And speaking of not backing down, that £22 million antitrust fine from the European Commission, that's no parking ticket.
Even for a billionaire, that's got to sting. What was that all about?
Takes us back to 2000. EU accused JCB of some shady stuff, basically using their size to push competitors around.
So what were they actually doing?
It's complicated, but basically the EU said JCB was rigging their sales and distribution to squeeze out the competition. Their argument was this could mean higher prices for everyone else.
Okay, what did Bamford do? Just accept it.
Come on, this is Anthony Bamford. He came out swinging, called the ruling a load of rubbish, and then 6 years of legal battles.
6 years. Talk about digging in your heels. Did he win?
He did not. European court sided with the commission. Bamford had to pay up all £22 million of it. But that wasn't his only brush with controversy. Remember the Panama Papers?
How could I forget? Offshore accounts, hidden assets, the whole shebang. What's Bamford's connection there?
Well, turns out he had a company registered in the British Virgin Islands, you know, that famous tax haven.
Right.
His people said the company was never active, never held any assets.
But still makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why even have a shell company in a tax haven if everything's above board? Starting to feel less construction equipment and more, well, international man of mystery.
And we're just getting started. It gets really interesting when we look at Bamford's political life.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. He's not exactly known for being shy about his political views, is he? So let's talk politics. Big donations to the UK Conservative Party, right? Just how much are we talking about here?
Oh, we're talking millions. Millions. Just between 2007 and 2017. Bamford and the different companies he owns, they put a cool $8.1 million into conservative campaigns.
8.1 million. That's a lot of influence he's buying. No wonder he's hanging out with prime ministers and royalty and all that.
It definitely runs in those circles. But it's funny you mention that because back in 2010, Prime Minister David Cameron, this is after a particularly generous donation, by the way, £1 million, right before the election.
Okay.
So Cameron offers Bamford a peerage. You know, a seat in the House of Lords.
Lord Bamford. That's a nice ring to it. Did he take it?
He said yes. But, get this, days before the official announcement, he backs out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's practically unheard of. Why back out after you say yes?
Right. Everyone was speculating. Some people thought it was because people were starting to look really closely at his businesses, his donations.
Oh, okay. So did he ever actually make it to the House of Lords?
He did. Just a few years later, 2013. He was appointed Baron Bamford of Daylesford. That's his estate, by the way, and it is something. So Lord Bamford served for about a decade. He just retired in 2024, actually.
A decade in the House of Lords. What were some of his big causes?
Well, he was a huge advocate for British manufacturing, creating jobs, you know, boosting the economy. No surprise there. But he was also very vocal about another big issue.
Brexit.
Bingo. Bamford was all about leaving the EU. He even pulled JCB out of the Confederation of British Industry.
Isn't that one of the UK's biggest business groups? Why pull out of that?
They opposed Brexit. That's how strongly Bamford felt about it.
Wow. He put his money where his mouth was on that one for sure. Doesn't he even write to all his employees telling them to vote leave?
He did. And JCB donated a cool £100,000 to the Vote Leave campaign.
It wasn't just politics for him. It was personal. Makes you wonder just how much influence these donations really have.
It's a good question, one we may never know the answer to. But how about we step away from the serious world of politics for a minute? I think it's time we talk about those cars.
Okay, from bulldozers to Brexit to... Well, this is quite the collection of cars. The man clearly has expensive taste.
Expensive. We're talking about a collection valued at over $260 million. This isn't just a collection. It's practically a museum.
$260 million. Okay, yeah, that's officially way more than I'll ever see in my life. But come on, give me the highlights. What kind of cars are we talking about here?
All right, buckle up. Let's start with the crown jewels. He owns two Ferrari 250 GTOs.
Wait, two?
Two? These are legendary 60s racers. Each one's worth like $70 million.
He could probably buy a small country with just those two cars.
Right, and that's just the start. He's also got a Ferrari 250 Testarossa, a Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR.
The Testarossa. Wow.
Oh, and that Mercedes. It was raced by one Manuel Fangio himself, 5-time Formula One world champion.
Seriously, this is nuts. Anything else?
Oh, just an Aston Martin DBR2 and a DB4 GT.
It's like something out of a movie. I mean, this guy almost bought Jaguar at one point. Though he wasn't interested in Land Rover, apparently.
Very specific tastes, this one. But it speaks to Bamford's decisiveness. He knows what he wants, and that kind of leads us to thinking about his legacy, right?
Right. So we've got Bamford, married to Carol. They have 3 kids, Joe, George, and Alice.
And Joe's following in Dad's footsteps, it seems. He's a businessman, big in green hydrogen. He even bought Wrightbus, the company that makes those London double-decker buses.
From construction to green energy. It's in the genes. But, I mean, wow. We covered a lot with Anthony Bamford, didn't we? Business, politics, a little bit of controversy, and those cars. It's quite a story. What do you think his legacy will be?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's almost hard to sum him up. Successful businessman for sure, political powerhouse, collector of rare and beautiful things. He built an empire, made his mark on British politics, and obviously has a pretty amazing car collection.
But there's still this mystery about him, right? For all we know about his public life, we don't really know the man himself. What drives Anthony Bamford? What are his passions beyond the business world, the political arena? What makes him tick?
I guess we're left to wonder, aren't we?
It's a good reminder that there's always more than meets the eye, even, or maybe especially, when it comes to people who seem to have it all. Thanks for coming on this deep dive with me. And listeners, next time you see a JCB excavator, think about the story behind it. It goes a lot deeper than you might think.